Welcome back to America Right Now. I'm Tom Basile. Joe and Jill Biden used their out-of-office response a lot in 2024. The president also tallied up a ton of travel costs to you, the taxpayer, even after the election during his lame duck period. And the same goes for the First Lady. This is just a short list of the Bidens' trips since the election, as well as their costs, and just like the basic costs for operating the planes, but nothing else. We're still in the dark about so many other variables. I'm talking about the cost for the extra military support, the meals, the lodging, and so much more. We're going to talk about this here. Let's bring in Seamus Bruner. He is the Director of Research at the Government Accountability Institute. Also with us, former United States Secret Service Special Agent Charles Marino. He's also a former senior advisor to the Department of Homeland Security, as well as the author of Terrorists on the Border and in Our Country. Seamus, I don't understand. He spent 570 days on vacation as president, and now he's got, they've been doing this goodbye tour, and both Jill and Joe Biden have been all over the world. What is this costing Americans? Do we know?
Yeah, Tom, it's great to be with you. It's staggering. I mean, the Air Force One costs nearly $200,000 per hour to fly, $3,000 a minute. So a 2.5-hour flight round trip to wherever they're going is nearly $1 million. And that, like you mentioned, doesn't include all the Secret Service accommodations for Secret Service travel costs. It's a staggering amount of money. And then just the sheer volume. I mean, 570 days out of 4 years. That's 12 times what the average American gets to spend on vacation. It would take the average American 48 years to rack up the number of vacations that Joe Biden has done in just 4 short years.
It is amazing, Charles. There are costs that we know, like what Seamus was saying. We know how much it costs to operate Air Force One and Air Force Two at a very basic level. But there are also, and let's put these up, they're all the scroll up, there are also a lot of costs that we don't know about for various reasons. And talk to us about those.
Well, there are. Well, first off, let's talk about the family members who are usually accompanying the president and first lady on many of these trips, and the rule that those trips are usually supposed to be reimbursable, as these family members don't typically play what is called an official role during these visits. So I'd be very interested to see if the U.S. taxpayers are getting any money back from the Biden family. That definitely is something that should be checked out. As far as these other hidden costs, this is a logistical nightmare, as we were just talking about. You're talking about helicopters. You're talking about several packages of motorcades. You're talking about vehicle leasing, hotel rooms, per diem. I mean, the list goes on. And this just isn't for the Secret Service or the military. Yeah. This is for the White House staff. This is for a whole ensemble of people that need to come together to support a presidential trip.
Yeah, and let's not forget, the vehicles, the Secret Service vehicles, as you well know, they have to be flown via military aircraft wherever he's going, because they're specially made for him. And Secret Service vehicles, whether it's for Jill Biden or for the president. Seamus, to this point, obviously this is costing taxpayers tens of millions of dollars. We mentioned the cost, $192,000 an hour for Air Force One. When he goes to St. Croix for a week, does Lunch Pail Joe have to pay for any of that? And do we have any evidence that he and his family members are reimbursing the taxpayers at all?
Yeah, that's a good point. No, there's no evidence that the Bidens are paying back. And it raises an interesting question, too, because, of course, there's all these costs, Air Force One and the hidden costs. But Joe Biden often visits and stays with large donors. And so this raises sort of questions of Biden family corruption. I mean, we know that they've used, government planes for inappropriate activities, like when Hunter flew with Joe to China when Joe was vice president. We know Hunter did not reimburse, even though he got a $1 billion private equity deal backed by the Bank of China. data. But no, we don't know that they're reimbursing. And then these donors that Joe stays with, he flew to Nantucket to stay with the head of the Carlyle Group. Are these undisclosed gifts? I mean, this is a big problem.
Charles, to you, I remember, George W. Bush during the holidays, he'd never go away on some fancy vacation. He'd either go to Camp David or he would go home. And that was because he wanted the Secret Service to be able to spend the holidays with the staff. The Secret Service, as you know, has come under a lot of scrutiny over the last year for those lapses and those 2 attempted assassinations on President Trump. Does all of this, going to St. Croix and flying around for no apparent reason, how much does this stress the agency and strain the agency's resources?
Well, I would say an individual president or vice president's travel schedule certainly impacts the manpower and the amount of time that agents are away from home. So, that varies. There certainly is never an expectation within the Secret Service that somebody that they protect is going to be willing to stay home on a major holiday so those agents can spend time with their own families. It kind of comes with the nature of the job, right? It's kind of the second page in the brochure that says you may not be home for major holidays and birthdays. Right. But with that in mind, it was always nice to know that the Bush family, for example, were thinking in the back of their mind, hey, let's make it a lot easier if we can for the agents to be home for these major milestones. So every little bit helps, especially now where you've got an agency that's really down in the dumps in morale, strained beyond belief, and really facing an unprecedented organization.
All right, Seamus, I've got to wrap. Do you have any estimate? Just give me a number of what this, just post-election, what this has cost us. Just give me real quick.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say close to $10 million.
I mean, that's just the plane, though, not everything else.
Yeah,
so it's got to be, it's got to be easily double or triple that.
Yes.
All right, guys, we're going to leave it there. And I thought the Republicans were supposed to be the elitists, right? Charles Marino, Seamus Bruner, thank you, guys. Appreciate you helping us breaking that down.